2016 might have been the year where we heard that The Rock was going to be in everything from 2017 on, but it was also the year where apparently Mahershala Ali was in everything. Figures is directed by Theodore Melfi, written by Theodore Melfi and Alison Schroeder. It stars Taraji P Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe, and it is about three African-American women working at NASA in the 60s, and these three were mainly responsible for providing NASA with the mathematical data needed for the space program to be a success. First of all, let's talk about our three main ladies. They are spectacular. I'm surprised we aren't hearing so much about these three ladies as we are hearing about any other actor deserving of an award. Taraji P Henson is so good in this film. I love her dynamic with her friends, and I love her dynamic with her co-workers, the ones that she doesn't necessarily get along with, the superior officers to her, as Kevin Costner is in this movie. She has a great relationship with him. She's the type of character who is not very confrontational. She really holds a lot of things back, but there are times in this movie where she explodes, where she outbursts completely, and she tells it like it is, and it creates for a great dynamic with her friends as well. For instance, Octavia Spencer, who is also so good in this film. She's the type of character that tells you like it is. She's a character that is really polite, really nice, but she tells you like it is, not in a straightforward way. She tells you things that leave you guessing that she means certain things, but she does not necessarily say the word, but I love her character for that. She's so spunky in this film, and I love her dynamism with the rest of the characters that surround her. She's a supervisor of her wing at NASA, and she is a leader. She represents what a leader is, what a leader does. She is an example of what a leader should be. And Janelle Monáe is a revelation. She's the character that, much like Octavia Spencer's, tells you like it is, but she is very direct. But she is also very rational. She does not do things without thinking of any of the consequences. Any decision she's trying to make, she thinks. She puts the pros and the cons down. She thinks about all those, and then when she's figured out what might come next after she takes action, she decides to go forward with it. These three represent great professionals, great friends, great people, and very smart ones at that. These three ladies play other three very important ladies in history, and they do it very well. I love how this movie is very much in the 60s, and they do that very well, where they make you feel like you are in the 60s, not only with the soundtrack, which is awesome and very fitting, but also with the cinematography, which is great. The cinematography in this film helps you get into the 60s vibe. Much like the set design, the costume design, the dialogue, everything just is 60s. Both the good that is represented and the bad that is represented, because unfortunately, race issues. Kevin Costner, as I said, has a great relationship with Taraji P Henson, and I love how these characters interact with each other, because Kevin Costner, he's not necessarily a guy who agrees with the times, if you know what I mean, and there are a couple of great scenes where he displays it, and when he does, it means something to the story and to the characters. This movie manages something special, that is to keep it topical while telling something that happened a long time ago in the 60s. But this movie has a real commentary on the world and how these events that are represented in this film shaped our world until this day and age. Not only that, but it is also special in the way that the narrative flows, because this movie shows you our characters personally, it shows you our characters professionally, and it also shows the issues that unfortunately these characters had to deal with outside their personal lives, outside their profession, and they are also affected by these issues in their profession. But the narrative never stops flowing. Everything that happens in this movie feels important to show us the characters and their progression, the story and its progression, and everything we've seen to create a very concise, beautiful, very clever, very smart, very funny, not contrived narrative. From again the cinematography, to the soundtrack, to the pacing, to the characters, to the arcs, this movie manages to keep a positive vibe all along. Throughout 2 hours, this movie never feels negative. Even in the worst moments represented in this film, it never feels like it's beating you over the head with it. We have had many movies that deal with unfortunate issues in history, and you are feeling for these characters because they are sad moments. But because of these characters, because of well written they are, because of how important they are, because they knew what they had to do, because they knew how they had to act. Unfortunately, this movie always manages to keep us uplifted, and that is something unique and something that I did not expect to see at all. Without spoiling much, we have seen a lot of times in movies that are happening in certain time periods that they show footage from TV and that show us the real people represented by these characters, and it all doesn't gel well, at least in certain seconds, for minutes, as these scenes happen. But here they managed to flow that very well also, because they show you certain TV moments happening and our characters witnessing it as it is unfolding. The cast all around is great. They all do an incredibly great job and portray very well written characters. The only gripes I have with this movie is Kristen Dunst and Jim Parsons. Both of them are great in this movie as actors, as performers. Their characters, however, merely felt like they were obstacles for the sake of obstacles. I'm not saying that the people in real life were not that, but as characters in a narrative, they needed to be something more. They did not block the movie from moving on. The narrative didn't feel contrived because they were there just occupying space. They are there, they fulfill their functions in here, and they move along just like any other character of this movie. But they merely felt like obstacles, and I did not see much dimension to the characters. Hidden Figures manages to keep it topical and important while it all telling a story that already happened about important people that mean a lot to the history of the United States. It has a great cast, pulling off great performances with great characters. It is a very, very funny movie, great cinematography and soundtrack. Besides those gripes that I told you, this is definitely one to watch. This is definitely something that will be around at award season, and it is definitely a collector's item. What did you think of Hidden Figures, my beautiful geekies? Let me know in the comments below, as well as your questions for the hashtag silence Q&A. Ask me anything you want about anything you want. There will be a giveaway, and you might win something if you just ask. Also, like this video and share with your beautiful friends. Tell them to come join the beautiful geeky community by clicking subscribe and the bell next to it. And of course, we can be geeky united. Thank you so much for watching, my beautiful geekies. You guys are the freaking best. I love you all so, so much. Stay beautiful, stay geeky. Shit.